Part 5, Truth. Chapter 80. Here's the truth about the beautiful Sinclair family. At least, the truth that has Granddad knows it. The truth he was careful to keep out of the newspapers. One night, 2 summers ago, on a warm July evening, Gatwick Matthew Patil, Mirren Sinclair Sheffield, and Jonathan Sinclair Dennis perished in a house fire that had thought to be caused by a jug of motorboat fuel that had overturned in the mudroom. The house in question burned to the ground before the neighboring fire departments arrived on the scene. Cadence Sinclair Eastman was present on the island at the time of the fire, but did not notice it until it was well underway. The flames prevented her from entering the building when she realized there were people and animals trapped inside. She sustained burns to the hands and the feet in her rescue attempts. Then she ran into another home on the island and telephoned the fire department. When help finally arrived, Miss Eastman was found on the tiny beach, half underwater, curled into a ball. She was unable to answer questions about what had happened and appeared to have suffered a head injury. She had to be heavily sedated for many days following the accident. Harris Sinclair, owner of the island, declined any formal invitation of the fire's investigation of the fire's origin. Many of the surrounding trees were decimated. Funerals were held for Gatwick Matthew Patil, Mirren Sinclair Sheffield, and Jonathan Sinclair Dennis. In their hometowns of Cambridge and New York City, Cadence Sinclair Eastman was not well enough to attend. The following summer, the Sinclair family returned to Beechwood Island. They fell apart, they mourned, they drank a lot. Then they built a new house in the ashes of the old. Cadence Sinclair Eastman had no memory of the events surrounding the fire, no memory of it ever happening. Her burns healed quickly, but she exhibited selective amnesia regarding the events of the previous summer. She persisted in believing that she had injured her head while swimming. Doctors presumed her crippling migraine headaches were caused by unacknowledged grief and guilt. She was heavily medicated and extremely fragile, both physically and mentally. These same doctors advised Cadence's mother to stop explaining the tragedy if Cadence could not recall it herself. It was too much to be told of the trauma fresh each day. Let her remember in her own time. She should not return to Beechwood Island until she had significant time to heal. In fact, any measures possible should be taken to keep her from the island in the year immediately after the accident. Cadence displayed a disquieting desire to rid herself of all unnecessary possessions, even things of sentimental value, almost as if doing penance for past crimes. She darkened her hair and took to dressing very simply. Her mother sought professional advice about Cadence's behavior and was advised that it appeared to be a normal part of the grieving process. In the second year after the accident, the family began to recover. Cadence was once again attending school after many long absences. Eventually, the girl expressed a desire to return to Beechwood Island. The doctors and other family members agreed it might be good for her to do just that. On the island, perhaps, she would finish healing. Chapter 81. Remember, don't get your feet wet, or your clothes. Soak the linen cupboards, the towels, the floors, the books, the beds. Remember, remove the gas can away from your kindling so you can grab it. See it catch, see it burn, then run. Use the kitchen stairwell and exit out the mudroom door. Remember, take your gas can with you and return it to the boathouse. See you at Cuddle Down. We will put our clothes in the washer there, change, then go watch the blaze before we call the fire departments. Those are the last words I had said to any of them. Johnny and Mirren went to the top 2 floors of Claremont, carrying cans of gas and bags of old newspapers for kindling. I kissed Gat before he went down to the basement. See you in a better world, he said to me, and I laughed. We were a bit drunk. We had been at the auntie's leftover wine since they left the island. The alcohol made me feel giddy and powerful until I stood alone in the kitchen and felt dizzy and nauseated. The house was cold. It felt like something that deserved to be destroyed. It was filled with objects over which aunties fought. Valuable art, china, photographs. All of them fueled family anger. I hit my fist against the kitchen portrait of Mommy, Carrie, and Bess as children, grinning for the camera. The glass shattered on it, and I stumbled back. The wine was muddling my head now. I wasn't used to it. The gas can in one hand and the bag of kindling in another, I decided to get this done as fast as possible. I doused the kitchen first and then the pantry. I did the dining room and was soaking the living room couches when I realized I should have started at the end of the house furthest from the mudroom door. That was our exit. I should have done the kitchen last so that I could run out without wetting my feet with gasoline. Stupid. The formal door that opened onto the front porch from the living room was soaked already. But there was a small back door, too. It was by Granddad's study and led to the walkway down to the staff building. I would use that. But who's she forgetting about? Everyone else. She's going to go out another door. She's forgotten, because she's drunk, that they're not going to know that she's going out a different door and that they need to go out that door, too. I doused part of the hall and then the craft room, feeling a wave of sorrow for the ruin of Gran's beautiful cotton prints and colorful yarns. She would have hated what I was doing. She loved her fabrics, her old sewing machine, her pretty, pretty objects. Stupid again. I had soaked my espadrilles in fuel. I think that's a type of shoe. We looked it up last year. ESP. How do you pronounce it? Espadrilles. Oh, they're sandals. Oh.
Taco. Pretty much.
I didn't know that those had a name. Okay, well. Soaked your sandals. I'll forget that again by the time we read this.
Rich is when that's what the shoes look like.
They sell those at Walmart for like $6, but
well, I mean,
for sure hers are real.
Walmart shoes.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll forget that by the time I read this next year, and I'll have to look it up again next year. All right, stay calm. I'd wear them until I got done, and then toss them into the fire behind me as I ran outside. In Granddad's study, I stood on the desk, splashing bookshelves up to the ceiling, holding the gas can far away from me. There was a fair amount of gas left, and this was my last room, so I soaked the books heavily. Does anyone know anything about lighting a fire with gas?
Yeah, I'm very good at lighting fire.
Okay. What happens when you let gas sit before you throw a match on it?
It becomes more potent.
It's more powerful and more potent. So.
But you use kerosene, it's better.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so she started where everybody was supposed to leave. She's going to go out a door on the opposite end of the house without telling them. And by the time that she lights it, what she set on the other end of the house is going to be 10 times stronger than she anticipated. She's stupid.
She is very stupid. If I was burned down a house, I definitely started saying that I'm not going to be going out.
Probably shouldn't burn down a house drunk. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, you can always make sure.
Don't burn your friends in a house. That's the moral of the story. There's another one.
So yes, they all died.
All right, stay calm. Oh, she's talking about her sandals. I'd wear them until I was done, then I'd toss them into the fire behind me as I ran outside. In Granddad's study, I stood on the. Oh, wait, I read that part. Then I wet the floor, piled the kindling on it, backed into the small foyer that led to the rear door. I got my shoes off and threw them in the stack of magazines.
Please don't leave me.
Hello? No, I have senior's fourth period. Thank you. Miss Shepherd's cleaning out her cabinets and is trying to get me all of her college stuff. I'm just throwing it away.
You were an espadrille.
No, I'm wearing pretend Birks.
Oh.
They're not real. They were $20 on Amazon.
Imagine burning all your friends and family. Some of your friends and family lives and forgetting about it.
Well, she would have to make herself forget about it. That would be crippling. How would you live with yourself?
Well, he did tell some story, but
they already told the answer, Preston. Were you not listening? They already told what happened.
I want to know how she got the head injury. She said she got it while swimming, and yet they say that she was just. So is that right? She's hallucinating all the time.
She's hallucinating the whole time. They're not really there. They're dead.
They're all dead. Yeah.
The three of them are dead.
But how did she hurt her head really?
She didn't hurt her head.
But they said she had a head injury. So did she burn
She has
them,
selective
or did they burn
amnesia.
themselves?
She burned them.
She was on the beach with
That's what we're getting to.
So she didn't get charged with manslaughter?
Her grandfather would have to admit that she burned down his house. Hello. Her grandfather's not going to admit that she burned down the house and that she murdered all of her family, because that would make them look bad.
So did he know she burned?
Yeah. Oh, he knows.
So they all know.
That everyone knows.
Yeah.
Well, that's like your friend committing murder, but you ain't gonna snitch on me.
Because remember, no one's a criminal. No one's an addict. They're not even allowed to be upset when her father leaves or when her grandmother dies.
Oh,
So you think that they're going to admit that she burned the house down and murdered her whole family?
For sure.
Definitely not.
Hey,
I'm here.
That would make it look bad. You missed the good part.
Did I?
Yeah, people dead, dog.
Yep, we just read the part where we found out that Gat, Johnny, and Mirren have been dead this whole time, and she's imagining them, and she murdered them.
So when did she have?
I guess it would be manslaughter.
Wait. Are we talking about the book about the people on the island?
Yep.
Okay.
She killed them all in a house fire.
No, we're talking about real life.
Talking about real life. Okay. Where are we at? Oh. She just thrown her shoes into the room soaked with gas. I stepped into the square of dry floor and set the gas can down, pulled a matchbook from my pocket of my jeans, and lit a paper towel roll. I threw the flaming roll into the kindling and watched it light. It caught and grew and spread through the double-wide study doors. I saw a line of flames zip down the hallway to one side and into the living room on the other. The couch lit up. Then before me, the bookshelves burst into flames, the gas-soaked paper burning quicker than anything else. Suddenly, the ceiling was alight. I couldn't look away. The flames were terrible, unearthly. Someone screamed, and screamed again. It was coming from the room directly above me, a bedroom. Johnny was working on the second floor. I had lit the study, and the study had burned faster than anywhere else. The fire was rising, and Johnny wasn't out. Oh no, oh no, oh no. I threw myself at the back door, but found it heavily bolted. My hands were slippery with gas. The metal was hot already. I flipped the bolts. 1, 2, 3. But something went wrong and the door stuck. Another scream. I tried the bolts again. Failed. Gave up. I covered my mouth and my nose with my hands and ran through the burning study and down the flaming hallway into the kitchen. That room hadn't lit yet, thank God. I rushed across the wet floor and skidded towards the mudroom door. I stumbled, skidded, and fell, soaking myself in puddles of gasoline. The hems of my jeans were burning from my run through the study. The flames licked out to the gas in the kitchen floor, and streaked across the wooden farmhouse cabinetry and Gran's cherry dish towels. Fire zipped across the mudroom exit in front of me, and I could see my jeans were now alight from the knee to the ankle. I hurled myself toward the mudroom door, running through the flames. Get out, I yelled, though I doubted anyone could hear me. Get out now. I threw myself onto the grass and rolled until my pants stopped burning. I could see already that the top 2 floors of Claremont were glowing with heat, and my own ground floor was fully alight. The basement level, I couldn't tell. Gat, Johnny, Mirren, where are you? No answer. Holding down panic, I told myself they must be out by now. Calm down, it would all be okay, it had to. Where are you? I yelled again, beginning to run. Again, no answer. They were likely at the boathouse, dropping their gas cans. It wasn't far. So now she is really crazy because she just heard Johnny scream upstairs because his room caught on fire too, because of the room that she lit. So, but now she's convincing herself that they got out because that's the only way that she can cope. Wondering what was taking me. Oh, they were probably at Cuddle Down. Couldn't they be? Wondering what was taking me so long? A walkway stretches from the boathouse past the tennis courts and over to Cuddle Down. I ran again, the island strangely hushed in the dark. I told myself over and over, they will be there, waiting for me, worrying about me. We will laugh because we're all safe. We will soak my burns in ice water and feel all kinds of lucky. We will. But as I came upon it, I saw the house dark. No one waited there. So she wasted precious time running around the island, trying to convince herself that they got out, when she probably could have went back in and at least saved one of them.
Tell him to stop opening Doritos, babe.
I tore back to Claremont, and when it came into view, it was burning, bottom to top. The turret room was lit, the bedrooms were lit, the windows of the basement glowed orange, everything hot. I ran to the mudroom entry and pulled the door. Smoke billowed out. I pulled off my gas-soaked sweater and jeans, choking and gagging. I pushed my way in and entered the kitchen stairwell, heading towards the basement. Halfway down the steps was a wall of flames. A wall. Gat wasn't out, and he wasn't coming. I turned back and ran up towards Johnny and Mirren, but the wood was burning beneath my feet. The banister lit up. The stairwell in front of me caved in, throwing sparks. I reeled back. I could not go up. I could not save them. There was nowhere to go but down.
Ooh, bars.
Chapter 82. I remember this as if I am living it as I sit on the steps of Windmere, still staring at the spot where Gat disappeared into the night. The realization of what I have done comes as a fog in my chest, cold, dark, and spreading. I grimace and hunch over. The icy fog burns in my chest, through my back and up my neck. It shoots through my head and down my spine. Cold, cold remorse. I shouldn't have soaked the kitchen first. I should not have lit the fire in the study. How stupid to wet the books so thoroughly. Anyone might have predicted how they would burn. Anyone. We should have all set a time to light our kindling. I might have insisted that we stay together. I should have never checked the boathouse. I should have never run to cuddle down. If only I had gone back to Claremont faster, maybe I could have gotten Johnny out, or warned Gat before the basement caught. Maybe I could have found the fire extinguishers and stopped the flames somehow. Maybe. If only. I wanted so much for us, a life free of constriction and prejudice, a life to live or love and be loved. And here I have killed them, my liars, my darlings. Killed them, my Mirren, my Johnny, my Gat. This knowledge goes from my spine, down my shoulders, and through my fingertips. It turns them to ice. They chip and break, tiny pieces shattering on the Windmere steps. Cracks splinter up my arms, though my shoulders and the front of my neck. My face is frozen and fractured in a witch's snarl of grief. My throat is cold, or closed. I cannot make a sound. Here I am frozen when I deserve to burn. I should have shut up about taking things into our own hands. I should have stayed silent, compromised. Talking on the phone would have been fine. Soon we'd have a driver's license. Soon we'd go to college, and the beautiful Sinclair houses would seem so far away and unimportant. We could have been patient. I could have been a voice of reason. Maybe then, when we drank the auntie's wine, we'd have forgotten our ambitions. The drink would have made us sleepy. We'd have dozed off in front of the television set, angry and impotent, perhaps, but without setting fire to anything. I can't take any of it back. I crawl indoors and up to my bedroom, on hands of cracked ice, trailing shards of my frozen body behind me. My heels, my kneecaps. Beneath my blankets, I shiver convulsively, pieces of me breaking off into the pillow, fingers, teeth, jawbone, collarbone. Finally, the shivering stops. I begin to warm and melt. I cry for my aunts who lost their firstborn children, for Will who lost his brother, for Liberty, Bonnie, and Taft who lost their sister, for Granddad who not only lost just his palace burned to the ground, but his grandchildren perished, for the dogs, the poor naughty dogs. I cry in vain, thoughtless complaints I've made all summer, for the vain, thoughtless complaints I've made all summer, for my shameful self-pity, for my plans for the future. I cry for all of my possessions given away. I miss my pillow, my books, my photographs. I shudder at my delusions of charity, at my shame masquerading as virtue. It lies at the lies I've told myself, punishments I've inflicted on myself. Was someone knocking? Oh, that was you. Well, shoot. Don't trick me like that. Punishments I've inflicted on my mother. I cry with horror at all the family that has been burdened by me, and even more with being because the cause of so much grief. We did not, after all, save the idol. That was gone forever, if it ever existed. We have lost the innocence of it, of those days before we knew the extent of our aunt's rage, before Grand's death, and before Granddad's deterioration. Before we became criminals, before we became ghosts. The aunties hug one another, not because they are freed of the weight by the weight of the Claremont house and all that it symbolized, but out of tragedy and empathy, not because we freed them, but because we wrecked them. And they clung to one another in the face of horror. She says we, but she means her. Johnny wanted to run a marathon. He wanted to go a mile upon mile, proving his lungs would not give out, proving that he was the man Granddad wanted him to be, proving his strength, though he was so small. His lungs filled with smoke. He was nothing to prove now. There was nothing to run for. He wanted to own a car and eat fancy cakes he saw in bakery windows. He wanted to laugh big and own art and wear beautifully made clothes. Sweaters, scarves, woolly items with stripes. He wanted to make a tuna fish out of Lego and hang it like a piece of taxidermy. He refused to be serious. He was infuriatingly unserious, and he was committed to all the things that mattered to him as anyone could possibly be. The running, Will and Carrie, the liars, his sense of what was right. He gave up his college fund without a second thought to stand up for his principles. I think of Johnny's strong arms, the stripe of white sunblock on his nose, the time that we were sick together from poison ivy and laid next to each other in the hammock, scratching. The time he built me and Mira in a dollhouse of cardboard and stones he found on the beach. Jonathan Sinclair Dennis, you would have been a light in the dark for so many people. You have been one. You have. And I have let you down in the worst possible way. I cry for Mirren, who wanted to see Chicago. She didn't know how she wanted to live or what she believed yet. She was searching, and she knew that she was drawn to that place. It will never be real for her now. Anything more than photographs and films and stories published for people's entertainment. Mirren talked a lot about sexual intercourse, but never had it. When we were younger, no need to ooh.
Ooh.
When we were younger, she and I would stay up late, sleeping together on the Windmere porch, on sleeping bags, laughing and eating fudge. We fought over Barbie dolls and did each other's makeup and dreamed of love. Mirren will never have a wedding with yellow roses or a groom who loves her enough to wear a stupid yellow cummerbund. She was irritable and bossy, but she was funny about it. It was easy to make her mad, and she was nearly always cross with Bess and annoyed with the twins. But when she'd fill with regret, moaning in agony over her own sharp tongue, she did love her family, loved all of them, and would read them books or help them make ice cream or give them pretty shells she had found. She cannot make amends anymore. She did not want to be like her mother, not a princess, no, an explorer, a businesswoman, a good Samaritan, an ice cream maker, something. Something she will never be because of me. Mirren, I can't even say sorry. There's not even a Scrabble word for how bad I feel. And Gat, my Gat, he will never go to college. He had a hungry mind, constantly turning things over, looking not for answers but for understanding. He will never satisfy his curiosity, never finish 100 best novels ever written, never be the great man he might have been. He wanted to stop evil. He wanted to express his anger. He lived big, my brave Gat. He didn't shut up when people wanted him to, and he made them listen, and he listened in return. He refused to take things lightly, though he was always quick to laugh. Oh, he made me laugh. He made me think, even when I didn't feel like thinking, even when I was too lazy to pay attention. Gat let me bleed on him and bleed on him. He never minded. He wanted to know why I was bleeding. He wondered what he could do to heal the wound. He will never eat chocolate again. I loved him. I love him. As best as I could, but he was right. I don't know him all the way. I will never see his apartment, eat his mother's cooking, meet his friends from school. I will never see the bedspread on his bed or the posters on his walls. I'll never know the diner where he got egg sandwiches in the morning, or the corner where he double locked his bike. I don't even know if he bought egg sandwiches or hung posters. I don't even know if he owned a bike or had a bedspread. I'm only imagining the corner bike racks and the double locks because I never went home with him, never saw his life, never knew the person that Gat was when he wasn't on Beachfoot Island. His room must be empty by now. He's been dead for 2 years. We might have been. I've lost you, Gat, because of how desperately I fell in love. I think of my liars burning in their last few minutes, breathing smoke, their skin alight. How much it must have hurt. Mirren's hair in flames, Johnny's body on the floor, Gat's hands, his fingertips burnt, his arms shriveling with fire. On the backs of his hands, words, left Gat, right Cadence. My handwriting. I cry because I'm the only one of us still alive, because I will have to go through life without the liars, because they will have to go through whatever awaits them without me. Me, Gat, Johnny, and Mirren. Mirren, Gat, Johnny, and me. We have been there. We have been here this summer, and we have not been here. Yes and no. It was my fault, and yet they love me anyway. Despite the poor dogs, despite my stupidity, my grandiosity, despite our crime, despite my selfishness, despite my whining, desperate, my stupid dumb luck, and being the only one left and my inability to appreciate it. And when they have nothing more than this last summer together, they will have said they love me. I have felt it in Gat's kiss and Johnny's laugh. Mirren shouted it across the sea, even. I guess that's why they've been here. I needed them. Chapter 83. Mommy bangs on my door and calls my name. I do not answer. An hour later, she bangs again. Let me in, won't you? Go away. Is it a migraine? Just tell me that. It isn't a migraine. It is something else. I love you, Katie, she says. She says it all the time since I got sick, but only now do I see what Mommy means. I love you in spite of my grief, even though you are crazy. I love you in spite of what I suspect you have done. You know we all love you, right? She calls through the door. Aunt Bess and Aunt Carrie, Granddad, everyone. Bess is making a blueberry pie you like. It'll be out in half an hour. You could have it for breakfast, I asked her. I stand. I go to the door and open it a crack. Tell Bess I say thank you, I say. I just can't come right now. You've been crying, Mommy says. A little. I see. Sorry. I know you want me at the house for breakfast. You don't need to say you're sorry, Mommy tells me. Really, you don't ever have to say it, Katie. Chapter 84. As usual, no one is visible at Cuddle Down until my feet make sounds on the steps. Then Johnny appears at the door, stepping gingerly over the crushed glass. When he sees my face, he stops. You've remembered, he says. I nod. You've remembered everything? I don't know if you would still be here. I didn't know if you'd still be here, I say. He reaches out to hold my hand. He feels warm and substantial, though he looks pale, washed out, bags under his eyes, and young. He's only 15. We can't stay much longer, Johnny says. It's getting harder and harder. I nod. Mirren's got it the worst, but Gat and I are feeling it too. Where will you go? When we leave? Uh-huh. Same place as when you're not here. Same place we've always been. It's like... Johnny pauses to scratch his head. It's like a rest. It's like nothing in a way. And honestly, Katie, I love you, but I'm fucking tired. I just want to lie down and be done. All this happened a very long time ago for me. I look at him. I'm so sorry. So sorry, my dear old Johnny, I say, feeling the tears well behind my eyes. Not your fault, says Johnny. I mean, we all did it. We all went crazy. We have to take responsibility. You shouldn't carry the weight of it, he says. Be sad, be sorry, but don't shoulder it. We go into the house and Mirren comes out of her bedroom. I realize she probably wasn't there until moments before I walked through the door. She hugs me. Her honey hair is dim at the edges and the edges of her mouth look dry and cracked. I'm sorry that I didn't do all of this better, Katie, she says. I got one chance to be here and I don't know, I drew it out, told so many lies. It's all right. I want to be an accepting person, but I'm so full of leftover rage. I imagined I'd be saintly and wise, but instead I've become jealous of you, mad at the rest of my family. It's just messed up, and now it's done, she says, burying her face in my shoulder. I put my arms around her. You were yourself, Mirren, I say. I don't want anything else. I have to go now, she says. I can't be here any longer. I'm going down to the sea. No, please, don't go. Don't leave me, Mirren. Mirren, I need you. That's what I want to say, to shout it, but I do not. A part of me wants to bleed across the great room floor or melt into a puddle of grief, but I don't do that either. I do not complain or ask for pity. I cry instead. I cry and I squeeze Mirren and I kiss her on the warm cheek and I try to memorize her face. We hold hands as the three of us walk down to the tiny beach. Gad is there, waiting for us. His profile is lit against the sky. I will see it forever like that. He turns and smiles at me, runs and picks me up, swinging me around as if there's something to celebrate, as if we're a happy couple in love on the beach. I'm not sobbing anymore, but tears stream from my eyes without cease. Johnny takes off his button-down and hands it to me. Wipe your snot face, he says kindly. Mirren strips off her sundress and stands there in a bathing suit. I can't believe you put on a bikini for this, says Gat, his arm still around me. She's dead. Certifiable, adds Johnny. I love this bikini, says Mirren. I got it at Eggertown, summer 15. Do you remember, Katie? And I find that I do. We are desperately bored. The Littles have rented bikes to go on a scenic ride to the Oak Bluffs, and we had no idea when they'd return. We had to wait to bring them back onto the boat. So whatever we'd shop for fudge, we looked at the wind socks. We finally went to the tourist shop and tried on the tackiest bathing suits we could ever find. It says, the vineyard is for lovers on the butt, I tell Johnny. Mirren turns around, and indeed it does. A blaze of glory and all that, she says, not without bitterness. She walks over and kisses me on the cheek and says, "Be a little kinder than you have to, Katie, and things will be all right." "And never eat anything bigger than your ass," yells Johnny. He gives me a quick hug and kicks off his shoes. The two of them wade into the sea. I turn to Gat. "You going too?" He nods. "I'm so sorry, Gat. I am so, so sorry, and I will never be able to make it up to you." He kisses me, and I can feel him shaking. I wrap my arms around him like I could stop him from disappearing, like I could make this moment last. But his skin is cold and damp with tears, and I know that he was leaving. It was good to be loved, even though it will not last. It was good to know that once upon a time there was Gat and me. And he takes off, and I cannot bear to be separate from him, and I think this cannot be the end. It can't be so true that we won't ever be together again, not when our love is so real. The story was supposed to have a happy ending, but no. He is leaving me. He is dead already, of course. The story ended a long time ago. Gat runs into the sea without looking back, plunging in all his clothes, diving underneath the small waves. The liars swim out, past the edge of the cove, and into the deep ocean. The sun is high in the sky and glints off the water, so bright, so bright. And then they dive, or something, and they are gone. I am left there on the southern tip of Beechwood Island and the tiny beach alone. We have 3 chapters left.
7 more pages.
We leave at 50, it's 49. So we will finish those 3 tomorrow.
Live.
I lied. We stopped to talk about some stuff and that slowed us down.